This is total.
Hey, what the hell are we recording?
Yeah, and you're screwing up the intro.
What about my part? It's supposed to be our podcast, right?
Come on, man. I'm trying to be professional about this.
You know damn well there ain't nothing professional about what we're doing here. Welcome to Totally Unprofessional. It's Manuel and Justin, his two best friends shooting the breeze about nothing and about everything. We're separated by 10 years, 2 points of view on every subject from two different generations. Listen as we talk sports, events, and anything else that might come up. There's nothing professional about what we're doing here, hence the name, Totally Unprofessional. All right, welcome back. We're a day late due to some scheduling circumstances going on. For those of you that don't know, we both coach, so we both had a part in a fireworks booth yesterday. Trying to sling those fireworks. It worked out well.
Right. This will be up tonight. I'll have this up tonight. So if you're looking to buy fireworks, we're on the corner of El Monte and Avenue 92, right across the street from Kmart.
From the closing Kmart.
That's right.
Yeah, hey, come by, mention the coaches or the podcast, and we'll even hook you up with a little discount.
Right.
So, but we're back. Like I said, we're a day late, but we're never behind. So we'll get going here. We did get a question. We'll get to that one in a little bit, or maybe we should start with the questions.
No, I think because we left off with
okay. We left off. With
this before we go any further. This is episode 19.
Episode 19.
We're on 19 now.
We're here.
So Monday is 20.
Yeah,
20 episodes.
Hard to believe that.
So this is 19. Today's July 2nd. Like I said, we're a day behind. Normally we start off with sports, but there's not a whole lot going on. There's NBA free agency, and there's probably some golf going on.
Yeah,
but
WGC Bridgestone over at Firestone. Day and Speed are back on the leaderboard. They're going to be consistent players everywhere, but the tough tracks. So, I don't want to say a real big important one, but every tournament is important every week because they work towards their playoff. So, and that $10 million payoff at the end is always what they're shooting for. So, every tournament is important because you've got to be on the leaderboard to get into that when the time comes. It's like any other sports playoff. So,
NBA free agency, crazy amounts of money being kicked out.
Yeah.
Between the first 2 days, 27 people signed, $1.7 billion spent. Mike Conley has the highest contract in NBA history at $153 million.
How is that possible? Is he worth that much money?
No.
Okay, why do you give him that much money then? Did you really feel like he was that piece?
Memphis needs something to go with Marc Gasol.
They had to make it look like they were trying.
Conley was highly demanded, but the salary cap going up $107 million for everybody just opened up the wallets of everyone.
Wow. And if he's getting paid that, the ballers
your boy Mozgov.
Oh, jeez.
Got paid $16 million a year by the Lakers.
They were supposed to be doing stuff to get better. I'm not a Laker fan. That blew me out of the water when I saw that. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. By the way, I love that love me sexy comment from earlier. That was awesome. But their whole thing was when Kobe leaves, we'll finally be able to get the players, the money, and that's how you start post-Kobe era. That's your first major move post-Kobe era. It's like, okay, it's obvious that it's the management here. It's not the players.
Yeah.
You know.
The Celtics right now, they had their meeting yesterday with Al Horford. They are considered to be front runners with the Wizards, and today they have their meeting with Kevin Durant. Now, long shots for Durant, absolutely. They took Tom Brady and Isaiah Thomas with Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens into the meeting, but hopefully it goes well. If Horford is leaning towards signing, and that lures Durant over with a young team. He's not just looking for a ring; he's looking for years of being a contender. And in the East, it's a lot different than what he was facing in the West.
Yeah, most definitely.
If they get Durant and Horford, in my opinion, unless something else happens
that puts
crazy,
them at the front run
they're
on the
literally
East,
right there next to Cleveland in the running for the East title. So it'll be interesting to see how the weekend goes.
He's going to have more players around him in Boston too. As opposed to just having Jackson on the other side. It's right. You got 4 or 5 deep now.
But there's still other teams that pitch to him.
Yeah.
The Spurs have pitched to him already. The Thunder have pitched to him. The Clippers were said to, and I quote from him, blow him away with their vision of where they're going and what they want to do with him. So we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
Are you surprised he's making all of these visits?
No.
You saw this?
Yeah.
Okay.
He at least wanted to. It's the same thing Carmelo did a couple years ago before he re-signed for the $126 million with the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to go through the process. He wanted to see what it's like to have people lobby for you and people pitch ideas to you and how much they're willing to open their wallet and go, we'll throw money at you.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens. But we can afford, as the Celtics, they can afford to pay both of them a max
they
deal.
got some money, yeah.
I like Horford. I like that as our big guy. He could shoot the mid-range and short corner shots, and he's tough at the rim. So I like that because we already have undersized big men.
Yeah.
He adds a level of toughness that they need inside. And to get Durant, sweet Jesus, there's the star that we've been looking for. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking of the Knicks, Joakim Noah.
Yeah, official.
How about that one?
Yeah, that was a smart move on their part because they essentially swapped centers is what they did with the Bulls because they traded away Robin Lopez in the Derrick Rose deal. And if you haven't seen the meme, there's a picture of Derrick Rose holding up his jersey because he's going to be number 25, and instead of a 5, it's the handicap symbol. So it should be good. So that's the shorthand on sports this week. This weekend.
Not a lot of football moves. But it's going to be getting crazy here in the next couple of weeks because you got OTAs and there should be some decent football
preseason
moves.
to start up here the next month.
Yeah.
And we are a week out from you being gone at UFC 200.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
And I didn't win the lotto last night, so I do plan on winning.
I didn't
Tuesday.
even check my numbers. I may be rich right
Nobody
now.
won.
Oh, well,
it's
it's
open
not
still.
me.
So we got.
All right, so hopefully tonight.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for everything. I don't need the whole 200 some odd million. Just give me a piece.
So you have tickets for tonight too, Powerball. Okay, I didn't buy any Powerball.
Yeah, I bought Powerball.
I put all my stock into Mega Millions, so that if I don't get rich Mega Millions, I'm probably never gonna be rich. But we've had this.
We know about this.
We've had this conversation before. So.
All right. So to pick up where we left off on Monday, we talked a little bit about Jesse Williams, the actor from Grey's Anatomy's speech at the BET Awards. That it was, in some people's eyes, it was controversial, and in some people's eyes, it was a big deal for the fact that he stood up on that platform and spoke out against a lot of things that a lot of people are thinking. And we both kind of touched on it briefly without going in depth.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Fully
I hadn't
seen the whole video.
Yeah.
So now, after watching the video and hearing what he had to say at full length, what do you got now?
So when I first watched this video, I was pretty pissed off. Anger is the first thing that came out of me. I mean, I just, for a number of reasons. First and foremost, Homeboy, in case you forgot, you're half black, you're half white. I'm not going to sit here and try to say it's any easier for him, but a genuine, I don't want to say true black person, but a legit person whose roots are African or whatever you want to call them. Because we've talked about me being Puerto Rican, and there's some of those guys are just as black as some of the Africans. So you're not going to sit here and try and split hairs with it. But you are, in essence, what the extreme black people call the enemy, the white. You are half black, half white. Having said that, for you to stand up there and use that platform, one, the platform is the BET Awards, the Black Entertainment Television Awards. That in itself screams racism. Why? Because we don't have white entertainment television awards to go. Now, people would say, well, the Emmys and the Oscar. No. Okay, I've seen Samuel Jackson get an Oscar. I've seen Denzel. Okay, I've seen legit black actors get Oscars and Emmys. So to say you needed a BET award was basically saying you wanted to get rid of everybody and have your own award. That's the first. Okay, the second, holy cow, dude. The biggest part that pissed me off was, I want to say it was his closing remark where he said, if you don't know about our oppression or the history of our oppression, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, homeboy. I think you're 29 years old.
Yeah, he's somewhere between our age.
Okay, so let's say you're 30 years old. I'll give you 30, okay? Which puts you born in the mid-'80s, late 80s, okay?
Yeah, they give
the 80s anywhere in general, okay? You don't know jack shit about oppression, all right? If you grew up in a rough neighborhood, you could say you wanted to get your ass out of that neighborhood. Hey, I'll tip my hat to you the same way I do to everybody. But I'm going to tell you what, success isn't handed to anybody. Okay, it's not. You don't get to stand on that platform and blame white people for the black people that didn't want to come out. That would be like me standing up and blaming white people for making Hispanics work in the field. It doesn't work that way, okay? It took a generation of field workers and farm workers in the Hispanic community to create kids that didn't want to work there. You know, kids who, they took their kids out to the fields. They had them work in the fields to understand you don't want to do this when you get older. Stay in school, get educated. I have to do this because there's nothing else for me. I'll do this as a sacrifice so you can get better. Much like I'm sure his parents or parent, I don't know the situation with his mom and dad, but much like his parents, and I don't know this guy's background. That's the worst part. I should have done some more research on his background, but Homeboy, you're an actor. You're paid very well, from my understanding. Don't get up on some damn platform and start blaming other people for oppression when, one, you're not oppressed, okay? Then don't blow smoke up anybody's ass about you getting through oppression, all right? Especially comparing it to slavery. You are not now, nor have you ever been a slave if you were born in the 80s. Sometimes, maybe some places in the 70s, it still was around a little bit, but you weren't born in the 80s and born into oppression. You got the same damn opportunity that everybody else did, fucker. Quit saying oppression. Oppression does not apply to you, okay? You don't get to talk about oppression because I'm sure your parents weren't. Your parents may have gone through some things being a biracial couple, but to say that you were oppressed, holy cow, okay? I admire your willingness to stand up and talk about things that probably still happen. Not let me say probably. That still happen. Do I think blacks get an unfair shake in certain circumstances? Yes. But no more or less than whites, Hispanics, Asians, anybody for that matter. Everybody in the wrong situation gets the wrong shake. This guy's basically saying that white people have been stealing their culture. Holy shit, are you serious? You really think people are stealing your culture? Here's the news flash for you, bud. If you feel like you're being robbed of things, there's the door. Don't let it hit you in the ass out of the way. You want to go back to wherever you think it is your ancestors are from, then go.
I'll give you a little bit of history real quick here. He's 34.
Okay.
He was born in Chicago. His father is black. His mom is Swedish.
Swedish. Okay.
And he has two younger brothers. He graduated from Moses Brown School in Providence, Rhode Island. That's the high school. And then he graduated from Temple University and a double major in African American Studies and Film and Media Arts. He taught at a public school for 6 years, and then he taught English and African American Studies, and before he became a model, and then became an actor.
Now I've heard chicks say this guy's good looking. I'm not about to dispute that. Homeboy sounds like, okay, from Chicago but graduated Rhode Island. Those are two different spots. Mm-hmm. Chicago's a tough spot. We read about athletes out of there all the time. Chicago's not no easy place to get up and out of. You could just as easily go the other way as opposed to him. He sounds like he worked his ass off, got his ass into college, graduated from college with a double major. That's not easy. And he got life going. Hey, tip your hat to the guy. I would tip my hat to anybody who was able to get out of that kind of situation. I mean, shit. I didn't grow up poor, but I sure didn't grow up middle class. You know, we grew up low class. I had to bust my ass. I had to graduate. I had to work my way through life. It's the same fucking thing. So to stand up, if I was to go to the fields and start telling everybody that, hey, you know what? You don't need to do this. The white people are oppressing us. People would have a problem with that. They would say, well, no, you want to work there. Why all of a sudden when black people say it, it's something to applaud. It's something, no. Okay? Like I said, I got many, many successful black friends. There is no reason, and I mean none, that they can't do the same freaking thing whenever they get the opportunity. None at all. Pick a different venue. BET Awards, not the place for
Here's
it.
the hilarious part, and I just read this earlier. BET is owned by white people. That's what's funny.
White guilt?
Maybe. So, for me initially, I watched it live. It was on at my house. I don't remember who had it on.
You were watching the BET Awards?
I wasn't. I was in the house. Okay. I was in the process of cooking dinner. Somebody had it on. I walked by, and it was on. And they were talking big about him and like his activist roles and stuff. And I was like, who are they talking about? And then they brought him up on stage. And dude gets up on stage, and he goes into his speech. And initially, like after, like I was like, all right, I'll listen. There's a lot of bad stuff going on, and this dude. It seemed in the beginning, initially, this dude was trying to take a positive stand, and as many people have stood up with the Orlando shooting and everything else, standing up for everybody needs to love people, and everybody needs to be united, sort of deal. I thought that's where this was headed. And then as I listened,
I bet everybody thought that's where it was heading.
As I listened to it and he went along, the more I got angry. And the more I initially was just like, this dude is literally on one right now. Like, he's up here using his platform to speak on this. And they kept shooting the crowd as he was talking, and how all these people are clapping and standing up and you know, saying, like, as if he was saying things that they were thinking about saying, but he was the one that stood up here and said this. And this is where that venue model comes in. There were white people in that room that they showed on camera that stood up clapping for him as if they were a part of that. If that's true what he's saying and he wholeheartedly believed what he was saying, then he needs to tell those white people, sit the hell down.
Yeah.
Because that's not what he was talking about.
They're part of the problem. Yeah.
Now, and to take this a step further of kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, him being born in 81, okay? I was born in 87. I don't remember the 80s because I was on the back end. I was too little. I don't have those memories. Now, I've done homework. You know, I've gone through school. I've looked back at eras in culture and history and television, music, you know, all this stuff. And the things going on. Now, I'm no historian and I don't claim to be. But all the things that go on that he brought up about not knowing their history and about being oppressed, if you're so oppressed, then rip up the check that the white man signs for your Grey's Anatomy show.
Yeah.
Tell me why you live in the house that you live in on a network that's owned by white people. Disney's owned by white people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. ABC is owned by Disney, who are white people. Cut up the check. You've seen the movie Glory. Denzel Washington standing there in front of everybody telling, tear it up. You didn't get paid the same. Tear it up. If that's how you really feel, then pull that shit. I respect that more than going out on an awards television show where it's strictly aimed towards your demographic.
Yeah.
And being in his age group and of that ethnicity and trying to stand up and act like you stood up somewhere and spoke out against somebody.
And here was one of the other takes of this for me, okay? Generally, if you think about like guys like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, his post-conversion. Think of things that black leaders have historically said. The great black leaders. And I say great black leaders because the great black leaders preached equality, not hatred. Because this was
they didn't preach us versus them.
They preached equality for humanity, not equality for blacks, okay? But one of the things that those leaders did, this is my point, they always put their own race to be accountable. We got to stop doing this as a race so we stop getting treated like this. This guy never once called out his own race for doing things.
Yeah.
Okay? We talked the other day about if you look a certain way, that you're going to get treated a certain way. All right? The good activists, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter what it's for, they hold their own selves accountable first. And they make changes from within, and then as the change gets bigger, they inspire. Part of the reason I believe Martin Luther King was assassinated, I know we got all those facts and everything, but I thought that he was going to inspire so much of the good change. Somebody thought, hey man, this guy could really unite people. Not black people. This guy could unite people. Malcolm X was starting to do that. He was starting to ignite people with a little bit more passion. Killed. Okay? Kennedy was starting to ignite people, Americans. Okay? That's the difference. This guy never once said, you know what, we got to stop killing each other, because the statistics are there. Black people kill black people more than anybody. Okay? More than whites kill blacks. More than anybody kills any race. Blacks kill blacks. That's a known statistic. Okay? If you want to inspire change, why don't you get your race to stop killing each other first, so that you're not looked at negatively. Okay? Because that's really the worst part is that within your own race, there's no control. But you want to control the outside forces? I bet if you fix what's in the middle first, what's on the outside won't seem so bad. You know? We talked about how if you're walking down the street and you see a black guy in a hoodie, you're aware, but you don't throw a quick judgment on him. Okay, fine. How about not walking around with your hood up in a hoodie middle of the night? Why would you be doing that? I mean, think about that stuff. And this isn't something that has to do with blacks. I had this conversation with my son. Pay attention to how you dress, because it sends out a persona. You don't want people to think you're dangerous. I don't want to say if you're not dangerous, because you're not dangerous. You don't want to throw that out there. You hear so much about black guys. It's about rep. It's about rep. Okay? Cholos, Hispanics, for those of you that don't know. Rep. It's about rep. It's about rep. Rep ain't shit. Pay your bills. Take care of your kids. That's positivity.
See, there's a guy that he's a comedian. He was on MTV2 for a little while, and he's been around for a while as a comedian, but he's just not like super popular. His name is familiar, but he's not super like famous. His name's Lil Duval. Mm-hmm. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida, and if you follow him, he talks a lot about like different topics, whether it's women or whatever, and not in a joking way. Like on his social media, he does make jokes, but he talks a lot about black people. Like you're talking about, like, you know, being accountable and looking at that stuff. That's a lot of what he talks about. That, like, you know, we need to educate ourselves as far as going forward. Not educate ourselves and, we need to beat down the white man or anybody else who's oppressing us. No, we need to be educated so we can get on that level. Yeah. So we can get the success. So we get... I said this on Monday. Everybody's path's different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that some paths aren't easier. And that, you know, for some people that you could look at another person, no matter what ethnicity, and go, why was it so easy for them and not for me? Because that's not your journey.
Yeah.
You know, I know what I believe, you know what you believe, you know, as far as our religious beliefs and stuff like that. And you know, some people don't have those same beliefs, you know, that your journey is predetermined and things of that nature. But I can't stand people that go through struggles and ask for those struggles to be taken away. Why do you want those struggles taken away? What are you gaining by having those struggles taken away from you?
By everything handed to you.
I ask, for me personally, and not to go into a religious piece of it, but when I'm in that thought process and I'm dealing with a hard situation and I'm praying on something, I don't ask for it to be over. I ask for the strength to get through it. And if there's a lesson for me to learn going through these struggles, show me that lesson. So I know why I'm going through this. I don't... In my opinion, too many people ask the wrong questions.
Yeah.
Why is the white guy got this but not the black guy? Why does the black guy get to talk and say these words but not the white? Does it matter? I talked about this on Monday also. You are what you respond to.
Yeah.
You are what you let people call you. And we had a first-hand example of that Thursday night. Dealing with that guy was no fun.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. If I could have, if I had not had the restraint and just could have just let myself go, I'd have hit the guy. I mean, it wouldn't have even been a question. I'd have hit the guy. But because it was in the heat of this moment and this situation in this basketball game and the stuff that he was saying to me, I had to be able to keep my cool.
Yeah.
You know? But at the end of the day, when it was over, it was over. I didn't look at him and go, because he was Mexican, he got to tell me stuff, and I just got to take it because I'm the white guy. No. I stood up and defended myself. And when it was over, I tried to tell him, hey, man, it's over. Respect, the game's over. Leave it out there. You know, move on about business. And what did he tell me as we walked out? I don't respect you.
Over a basketball game.
That's the mentality that majority of the people have.
Yes, definitely.
If you want to go toe-to-toe with somebody, you better be ready, or not even just one person individually, but an ethnicity or a race or a group of people. You better be ready to be willing to be accountable and take shit back.
Yeah.
You can't point the finger at somebody and go, look at all the things you've done to my race or my ethnicity or this group or that group. And then when people go, okay, we're responsible for that, but this is what you guys are doing that's kind of directing this, or this is what you guys have shown us to make us think that. So now we have this stereotype or this assumption of these things.
Yeah.
Not once did anybody go, well, damn, I didn't see it that way. Maybe we should cut. Maybe that's something we need to pay more attention to. And how do we stop doing that? Maybe we need to get active about cutting that shit out.
Yeah.
That's not what happens.
No.
Instead, it's an angry response of, you don't fucking know me. You don't know our history.
Yeah.
That's where that comes out. Well, guess what? I got news for anybody who's younger than like 70. You don't know shit either about what it was like, because the only people that know that shit are the people that are 70 because their grandmas and great grandmas knew somebody that went through that shit and told them, and it got passed down in a story. Didn't experience it, but I'm sure was passed down from, generation to generation. If you are in our age group in the 28 to 38 range, shut the fuck up about how bad you have it and how your people, I got news for you, you ain't got people. like that. Like back in the day when somebody used to say, my people are being oppressed. They had a legitimate argument.
Yeah.
Because there was a group of people going through a real struggle that was legit. Nowadays, everybody wants to steal the shit. They don't want to work for it. They all want to have the hottest clothes, the new Jordans, and all that shit. Just like you said, it's about the rep. Ain't nobody... There's a saying that Kevin Hart says before every show, if you've seen his shows. Everybody wants to be famous or rich, but nobody wants to put the work in.
Yeah.
That is our society.
Yes.
Straight up.
Oh, yeah.
That's not just black people. That's everybody.
Yeah.
And to try and single us out now, and I say us as in, people that aren't black or aren't of an other ethnicity rather than the common as they would think. Like I said, I grew up in Dinuba and living in California. The majority is Hispanic. I'm more Hispanic than most of the Hispanics here. You can't tell me that, because you're white, you don't get to have a say. I'm sorry, it don't work like that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You read it in a history book. You didn't experience it. You read what I read. Sit down. Okay? That's where I have a problem with that. Is if you experienced it and you could sit here and say, hey, I went through this, man. Like, this is real. Oh, hey, respect. I'm more than willing to listen to all that. But when you stand up in front of a room full of people that are supposed to be all like-minded just like you, you're not changing people's minds by sitting up there and saying that shit.
You're getting applause for the television. Yeah.
That's all, in my opinion, that's the direction that was headed. He could have went on a different platform at a different time, not on that network, not with those people, and done it. And I would have respected that more than this. Because it would have been more controversial if he did the other way.
When you say it and it's controversial is when it matters, not when everybody in the building agrees.
Yeah.
You didn't tell anybody anything.
You've heard me say this to your daughters. You've heard me say it to the girls that we coach. It is more important to stand up for what you believe in than it is to follow because it's popular. Yeah. Even if you're the only person standing, you do what you got to do because that's how wholeheartedly you believe in something. To me, that's not what he did that night.
No,
he didn't stand up in a room full of white people and go, dude, you guys have been doing this to us for a long time. I'm not saying to attack you. I'm just trying to acknowledge what happened and drop knowledge on you guys. And maybe you guys would see things differently. That's not anywhere near what happened.
No.
And reading the article that I just read not too long ago, there's people that have lashed out against him as much as have supported him. There was people, we talked about a little bit about Justin Timberlake getting into trouble on Twitter about saying that his speech was inspiring and that then somebody goes on Twitter and says, really? Then are you going to stop ripping off our dance moves and our sound and apologize to Janet Jackson because she got in trouble for the Super Bowl and he didn't? And he responded to that person individually, and everybody flipped on the social media and attacked him. To me, that is somebody who didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. You want to say that he stole shit or that he's stealing your, culture? Show me. Show me somebody who sat in that room with him that wasn't black that went, hey, you know what? You know what we can go through? Look at all this shit. We'll take this one and with this one. No. You know who his best friend and producer is? Two of them. Who his two best producers are that he works with regularly? Timberland and Pharrell. Two black guys.
Yeah.
That's not stealing.
No, that is not. And that's something, again, he went up there and made a speech that, well said, yes. Fact-based? No. No, he has history to back him up because that's where it comes from. Modern day shit is based so much on what you accomplish and what you go for that to say anybody is oppressed is bullshit. That's the beauty of this country. Everybody gets the same shot. Does everybody start from the same place? Absolutely not. No. Some people start from a harder place, okay? But you know what? You either put your head down and you go through it or you find something that motivates you and you push forward. Me, it was my kids. When I had my first kid, I woke up and I said, okay, I need to find my place in this world so I can take care of the kids, And as they're growing up, I'm teaching them to do the same thing. You need to chase after what you want. You need to work for what it is you want because nobody's going to give it to you. The problem is that we have parents, and it's not just blacks, it's Hispanics too, it's whites too. Yeah. They say, you know what? You do what you got to do to get ahead. No, that's not entirely true because there are some ethics involved in it, okay? Because if that's the case, then you just sit around and you go on welfare. You go on anything that will support you to the end. Okay? We have millions of people on 100% assistance. Okay, now the assistance, that whole system is flawed, but it's there to help you. It's not there to support you. And there are people on it that are being supported by it 100% that don't need it 100%. Okay, when I was younger, I got laid off. We went on assistance for a little bit. I got off. We got in. You know what? I found what I needed to do, and we're taking off. Okay, there are people that get on that and never come off. Oh. If that system was used correctly, we wouldn't have homeless. We wouldn't have.
I used to work in a grocery store. I used to watch people come in with the assistance, which is now they reference it as EBT with those cards. I used to watch people roll in there with those cards and scan those cards and get like $300-$400 worth of groceries.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things that don't apply to that assistance, so you can't buy those things with that card. And then pull out literally a roll of cash that's like another $300-$400 in cash, and then pull it out, no problem. And there you go, and pay for the extra. Now, I'm not saying that money wasn't used for bills or anything else like that, but if you're pulling out fat wads of money like that, and you're doing that, and I see you every 2 weeks when it drops, or every month when it drops, come on.
Something wrong.
Something's a hook there, you know?
So
and
he's just...
To me, I just felt like, as somebody who's not black, that he literally went out of his way to go at white people without saying white people, and then anybody else who agreed with white people.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't say we as in, like, we blacks and Hispanics and... He just said black people.
He said black people.
It was like he made it black people versus everybody else.
And that was what I read on some other ones, is that he turned this into I want blacks to succeed. I want blacks to have what's black, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, well, like you said, the white man signing your check, you don't seem to have a problem cashing it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see you calling for a mass exodus from a country that's oppressing you. I don't see any of those things. This is a free country.
And here's something, too. Now I think about this as you say that about the checks and stuff. Tell me black people don't capitalize on their culture. The music industry itself. You're going to tell me that we need to not know about, if we don't know about your history, don't talk about it? Then stop using the N-word in rap music.
Yeah.
Because that's a word that white people used. That's not a black word.
Yeah.
Black people turned that into a black word to spin it on so it wasn't offensive.
But it was a negative word.
It was a negative connotation towards black people.
Slave owners used to address their slaves.
So take that out of rap music. See how many songs you sell, how many records you sell on iTunes when you take out that. Stop talking about the hood that you used to live in, the drugs you used to sell, the women you used to fuck in this drug-stricken neighborhood. Take that away. Why don't you talk about some smart shit? That's what I think is hilarious about music in general nowadays, that, about what they talk about.
Yeah.
If you listen to, you want to talk about history, here's some history. You want to talk about R&B music, jazz music, music that for a long time came from, Chuck Berry and Fats Domino and guys like that. You didn't hear them talking back in the 50s and 60s about bitches and money and how big their car is and the chain they got around their neck. Now, I'm not saying they didn't own those things or they didn't have those women, but that's not the material they put out.
Yeah, for sure.
And they did just fine. Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder's still a fixture in music. You don't hear him talk about none of that shit.
Yeah.
That's the shit that kills me. You want to talk about history, then stop using shit like that. Quit playing that card. When you want to sit here and go, no, you guys are stealing it from us. Really? Because you're the ones trying to capitalize on it and make it cool. Yeah. Because if it's not cool, you ain't getting paid.
Well, and what's funny is take a closer look at his inner circle. What is his inner circle like? Okay, are white people a part of any part, or do white people do anything that help him succeed? Because if that's the case, then he's stealing their culture.
Yep.
If they have any kind of influence on what kind of actor he is, he's stealing their culture. They're not using him as a black man. I wish he would. I don't know if he sees it this way. They're not using him as a black actor. They're using him as an actor. Mm-hmm. Okay, he's a decent actor. I've seen the show.
Oh, yeah.
He's a decent actor, but he's implying that what he does on that show is stolen by someone else at some point. Sorry, bud.
Let me ask. I'll even do you one better. How many of the writers in the room that write those scripts for his part are strictly black?
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to find out there.
Because I guarantee you it's a collaboration of people in that writer's room.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's different ethnicities in the room, but I guarantee you there's not a whole lot of just one race.
Yeah.
I'm sure if there's people that are 100% black in there, that there's a few of them, and I'm sure there's a few white people, and then there's probably some mixed ethnicities in there, that it's not just one black dude or a few black dudes going, this is what we got to write for him. This is his part. We write his part. You guys can write the rest of the show. We write his part.
Yeah.
Because if that's the bullshit you want to talk about, that's what's supposed to happen. That you contradicted yourself big time, man, when you sit there and went, you're stealing our culture. You're stealing. Quit trying to capitalize on us by, exploiting that shit and trying to make that shit cool. No, if you don't wear these clothes or if you don't say this vernacular, then, hey, that's not cool. You can't hang around us. You can't come down to the hood where we live and act that way.
Yeah.
Really? Because you, the music and the movies, that the roles that you accept, understand that actors have a choice on what they apply for.
Yeah.
Nobody tells them, you're taking this movie, you're taking that movie. No. Just like him. He accepted that role. He didn't have to take that role. If he wanted to do all the shit he's talking about, he would have went, oh, the star of the show, Patrick Dempsey's a white guy? Yeah, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
That to me is, he's definitely stuck his foot in his mouth. You want to talk about inspirational? Maybe. A little bit. If you want to talk about standing up for yourself and wanting to speak out, okay, I'll give you that. But to say that what he said in all facets of that speech were accurate and they were all on point and that everything about that was inspiring, I'm sorry, I disagree.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, to me, I'm somebody who comes from a background of family and extended family that are multifaceted in ethnicities, who come from a number of different places around the world. And even my niece now, we just had Bryce on the podcast. My niece is now part Korean, part white, and now she's part Kiwi because Bryce is from New Zealand.
Yeah.
That my extended family comes from a lot of those places, and I don't see any one of them coming to my family going, I know I'm part of your family, but I can't associate with you because you guys are white and you're holding us down.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. Especially, like you said, not in today's era. Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't play. And I'm sure him being in the African American Studies major has something to do with it, knowing
absolutely.
what's happened in the past. And it'll always default to, if you really don't like it here that much, then there's the door. Nobody's making you stay here. If you think that you're so oppressed here, there's the door. And the argument would be, well, why do I have to leave? Well, because this place is not going to cater to you. That's not what we do here. It's not. You have a right to speak up. Hey, have at it. But I've always been told, man, if you want to make changes, you start on the inside. You start on the inside, and then as people start to see you change, you will change on the outside. Like you said, it would be a much bigger statement for him to say that at an Oscars. Or they wouldn't do an Emmy, either an Oscar or a different acting award. Not at the BET Awards, especially with it being, holy cow, the BET Awards. We talked about, I don't want to say white people, but white people don't have a white entertainment television.
I guess the argument against that would be, well, white people own all the channels.
Well, then why are you an actor? Because apparently so you're telling me they're making you do their shows? They're making you bring their culture to them? No, like you said, the actor, especially it's real big with the music. Some of the better producers were black, and they go out and find the talent. Eminem was found by who?
Dr. Dre.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that
who was a part of a controversial group.
Yeah,
who made a statement.
That was black people making a difference. I don't want to say for the positive, but
but they're taking a stand.
Yes,
they took a stand.
They took a stand for something that they believe showed wrong, and they did it on the right kind of platform. They used the platform that was in front of them. They used their music. Controversial, absolutely, but you know what? They didn't contradict themselves. They stood for what they believed in. And even those ideas, even if you talk to those guys now, watch some of their interviews. It hasn't changed.
Here's a little extended piece on that. Ice Cube, they asked him about his music. How come in some of his music, or how come he's portrayed as a guy that he's not necessarily really like? When you meet him, they say that he's somewhat stern, or that when other people have interacted with him, that he's actually a really nice guy. and he's pretty chill. And I forget what show he was on. He was on some show, and they asked him about why he's not this like gangster dude who carries guns and all this stuff, and certain things that in some of the music that he's been a part of has portrayed. And he goes, "I never said that was me. That's not what this was about. This was music. I'm not my music. My music is what I put out for people to enjoy. If that's what they like, if that's what I feel they like, that's what I put out. That's not me. And I've never claimed to be that." Now, you could argue that he's exploiting that music and turning it into a capitalization on the contents of it and how people react to it. But he's honest in saying, that's not who I am. I'm not trying to claim that this is me. I'm not trying to stand up here and say that fuck the police and I got guns and what are you going to do about it? Come get me because you guys are all out to get me. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
That's not what he's saying. Whereas in this case, Jesse Williams is standing up going, I'm an activist. I speak on behalf of every black person. I guarantee you there's a lot of black people that disagree.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, especially, and to me, I would think it's the ones that are successful that know I didn't have to stay there. I could have laid down and been another statistic, you know? On the movie, The Program, there's Omar Epps is one of the football players in there. And they're doing their Pride Night. And one of the things that he says, it's echoed by successful black people, you know? He's grateful to be here. He's not in jail or dead. He's not a statistic. Because unfortunately, Chicago is one of those places. Young black males are statistics there. You know, they kill each other at what's an alarming rate, you know? So the successful black people that I know are all grateful. You know what? I got a little bit of motivation, whether it was from their mother, their father. They got motivation and they pushed through. You know? That's what changes things, not getting up and blaming somebody else for it. You want to change your life, it has to start with you. It doesn't start by blaming someone and getting them to admit that they did it. You know? One of the things I can't stand that this country does, it bothers me, is that immigrants that come from certain countries are granted certain things when you come in because of something that someone felt the country did wrong to another one. Hiroshima survivors come over here and get benefits, you know, or not survivors, but family. If you were affected by that, they give weird things because of the guilt. And it's like, wait a minute, that would one of the headlines was Obama apologized for the bombing of Hiroshima. It's like, well, wait a minute, man, hold on. That was in response to what happened at Pearl Harbor, bro. Yeah. Don't go apologizing for that. That was an act of war that started, and we reacted with an act of war. Right. That's what happened there. Don't go apologizing for that, and certainly don't tell them we need to. It's not our responsibility to take care of.
See, and I think that goes back to what we were talking about in previous episodes about being soft, being too sensitive about all this stuff. I'm sorry, in real life, like this is here's this, and I'm pretty sure I speak for you on this about that you'd agree with me about this. Kids go through school nowadays. You just had 2 daughters graduate. You have a son going into high school. Kids nowadays go through school where they get told that anytime they're offended, speak up. That anytime you feel somebody imposed on something that it makes you uncomfortable or that you don't like for any reason, not a major reason, for any reason, you are to speak up. And that person is punished. No questions asked.
Yeah.
This is not it's not investigated anymore. It's not looked at where it's like, well, was this something that really needed to have repercussions for any situation here? That did this person do something that was harmful or imposing on this person that it was bad enough that like, hey, we more than a talking to? That's not how things go these days.
No.
And then kids get out in the real world and they realize that there's people out there that don't give a rat's ass about how upset you are with what they said or what they did. And it's a very quick reality check when you get out of mom and dad's house and mom and dad's, wing, so to speak, on what to do in those situations. You have to grow up and understand that you're your own person.
Yeah.
And here's my message to the people that think like, oh, he's just saying that. I'm down for anybody that's willing to stand up and fight for what they believe in. I'm all for that. I'll listen. I respect that. I'll accept it whether I agree with it or not. But when you attack me individually and don't understand what I've gone through as a white person versus you as another ethnicity and can't look at that and go, no, you don't go through what I go through just because you're white. That's where I have a problem.
Yeah.
You don't know what I've gone through, whether it's been physically, psychologically. Like you said, we all start from different places.
Yeah.
And I want to see people succeed. And one of the biggest quotes that goes around about successful people is, you don't worry about people that bitch about how successful they're not. You surround yourself with people that want to make others successful.
Yeah.
Because you want people that aren't bitching about the have-nots. You want the people that are praising the how you got here's and how can I get there.
Yep.
So I'm down for anybody that wants to do better for themselves, that wants to stand up for themselves or feel strongly about a certain topic. We're all for that shit. We'll have you on the show.
Yeah.
We're more than willing to talk and debate in a healthy manner and not get crazy or get mad. Like, I'm not mad about this. Like, initially I was, but from my point of view, I just have a different one. Yeah. And I felt he stepped out of line and stuck his foot in his mouth without all the knowledge that he said he had. And if that's, how he really feels in his heart of hearts, let's see where you speak up next. Let's see what follows this. What do you do as an activist to follow this?
Well, and I'm be curious to see if he's going to look at all of the responses, not just the ones that agreed with him, Are you someone who just takes the pats on the back and walks out? Or are you going to change and are you going to listen to everything? Because nobody's always right. Even if you've got a great point, there is something you could learn for someone with a difference of opinion, Or is he just so set on the fact that, no, we're oppressed and people are still in our ways of life? Is that where you're going to end? That's what you believe? That's what you're going to die believing? Because, I don't know, that's wrong. I believe that's wrong. And, I believe it's wrong because, like I said, one, you didn't go through it, and two, it's not completely true, But hey, that was definitely an interesting speech. He turned a lot of heads, and if it has some positive influence, awesome. I just would have really liked to see him call out his own race, and maybe not put the onus on somebody else. But again, it's what kids do nowadays. I work with younger guys now, in the mid-20s, late 20s. And these guys are always, when stuff doesn't get done, they're all like, well, somebody didn't tell me to do that. Well, we shouldn't have to. Well, yeah, so you guys say it's your guys' job to tell me. No. It's your job to understand your job. It's my job to help you make corrections when you're doing stuff wrong. It's my job to help you understand what you're doing wrong, So it's a generational thing, I think, and I hope it gets bred out. But I don't know. It doesn't look pretty.
Right.
It doesn't look pretty because, like you said, if you look at the way they're handling situations in schools, it's not good. I'm not one for, I don't like to watch kids fight. I didn't like to fight, but it happened when it happened. But at least you knew where you stood when it was over. You don't know where you stand.
See, I think in our, I'm the last, I'm the ass end of that, so to speak. That you weren't the punk that went and got a gun or a knife.
Yeah.
You stood there and banged with somebody. And if you got your ass beat, you got your ass beat. But when it was over, it was over. And you didn't have to like the guy when it was done. But like you said, you knew where you stood.
Yeah. You knew you either had to keep your mouth shut or you'd get your ass whipped some more, or you knew you could keep running your mouth. That's just the way it was.
All right. So moving on here to somewhat from one controversial topic to another, so to speak. I think that's the theme of this episode is controversy.
Yeah.
We were asked on our Instagram page our thoughts on the state of California and just in general. California gets to vote this year on the legalization of marijuana. And it's actually pretty deep. You get to keep an ounce and grow 6 plants. There's a whole deal. Currently, there are 25 states that have it legally
on some level,
to some degree. So half of the country has it legal in some form. So they're trying to pass a law or legalize. So the law is saying that it was okay, and there's conditions, obviously, that are coming with it. The vote will take place in November, and they needed at least almost 400,000 signatures to get this to be put out for a vote. Yeah. They got 600,000 as it stood as of a few days ago. There's certain rules, you can't smoke in public. That's still illegal, and you're not allowed to do it while driving. which is amazing that they won't outlaw women doing makeup while you're fucking driving.
Yeah.
But hey, you can't be on your phone and you can't smoke weed while you're driving. But hey, stick something in your eye while you're fucking driving and looking in a mirror, which is interesting. So there is that's what they're looking at. They are saying that back in 1996, 55% of California's voters allowed the use of marijuana for medical purposes.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's illegal in California. So if you have your card, it only goes so far.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a free pass to smoke in front of the police or grow a whole backyard full of weed plants. And there's been a lot of talk lately, especially in politics, about this.
Yeah.
Because Bernie Sanders is supported by Tommy Chung, who's
Yeah.
all over social media about this. And so I don't know a whole lot about like a history of, you know, your past as far as that stuff goes. But what is your opinion on that?
I really don't think it matters because this state is proving that no matter what the outcome is, there's a big enough party on the other side that disagrees to get it overturned. Not to bash a particular group, but you know, when the gay marriage thing got voted, I mean, that thing turned over in court for years, and until it finally got. I don't even think that's settled. You know, I don't think that the voting voice here in California has a lot of pull, and actually in Sacramento. I think Sacramento decides, and if enough people get together when it's been decided, they can get it overturned. You know, that's what happened with the gay marriage thing. So, will it stand? I don't know. My position on it?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Far from me to tell anybody, and I would say this is the truth with anything. You know, it's a personal decision. I can't do it, one, because of my employment. I work in a DOT-sensitive job. I cannot have that kind of stuff in my system. Two, again, there are a lot of medical uses for that stuff. This is one of those things that should be, to me, like cigarettes. Legalize it and tax it.
The deal was that if it was going to be legal, you had to be 21 if the vote passes.
Yeah.
21 years of age and a 15% tax on it.
Well, and that's, again, now I think federally it's illegal, right?
Yes.
Okay, now
that's the way that they enforce it.
Now here's a little known tidbit. I learned this the other day. If the federal government has deemed it illegal, taxes cannot be used for state purposes.
Ooh.
So, if they legalize it, and if I'm incorrect, someone correct me on one of the pages. But so that money won't go to schools or it won't go to anything that's state run. Mm. So what are you going to do with the tax money? I'll tell you what right now. They're going to further fund that bullshit welfare program. Those programs like that are going to get expanded. Which, by the way, I was going to make mention. I'll make mention of it later. But it's a medicinal purpose. Authorize it for medicinal purposes. Allow doctors to prescribe it and regulate it. And you'll be okay. Besides, I've never seen an angry pothead. True. I've never met an angry pothead. I never met someone who just smoked a joint that said, let's go fuck shit up. That's not what I've ever come across. Right. Okay? It doesn't have the same effect as alcohol or any other stimulant.
That's what I was going to say on my end is we allow people to get fucking hammered in public bars and drive home. Yeah, and it's funny because, like I said, pot's not known to make violent people. Worst thing that's going to happen, guy's going to make a potato chip run or something. Right. If they can even get up, because most of the time they want to go to sleep afterwards, I don't see it as something that's dangerous. Like I said, I had a grandfather, he's passed away now. He used to smoke it daily because it helped him. Hey, you know what, Grams? Spark it up. If that's what you got to do to feel better, to ease your way, your transition into the next life, then that's what it's got to be. I read a lot of articles about how it just has so many medicinal uses. Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? Like you said, we let people get hammered in bars, and that's far more dangerous than this is. You smoke something like this in a bar, you'd be lucky to walk out of the bar. Somebody's got to carry you. Mm-hmm. You're not coherent enough. Does it happen? Yes, it does. I'm not gonna sit here and say it doesn't, but I think they should legalize it. I've always believed they should. There's enough uses for it. They say it's one of the better, I don't want to say cures, but treatments for ADD, like the cannabis oil. Some of those kids, I'm not a big believer in ADD or ADHD. I know kids have been diagnosed with it, but
hey, man, if that will calm them down a little bit. I've seen some kids I don't want to say unruly because that's a little bit harsh of a word, but I've seen some hyper kids out there who just can't function, and this stuff will calm them down. The oil works, calming them down, you know. Right. Hey, whatever it takes, you know. But I don't believe it will stand. I think there's a big enough group that believes that it shouldn't be legalized, that this will turn into gates just like the gay marriage thing did. You know, there's really no way for it to succeed or fail, I think. But
it's just gonna get caught.
Yeah, it's gonna get caught, and it'll go to the Supreme Court, and one justice will rule on it, and then it'll get ruled on again, and one will say it'll pass, one will say to uphold. You know, that was supposed to be the whole thing about voting. If the people said yeah, then you said, then it was a yeah, and if you didn't like it enough, which we'll talk about another one, if you didn't like it enough, you left the state, you found another state. You know. Times are not as good as when you could just pick up and leave. Because if I could pick up and leave California, I most definitely would. But okay, it's just what it is, you know. So when this passes, people are gonna have to make a decision: do I want to stay here or do I not? You know, Texas is getting pretty full,
right?
You know, Oregon, Washington, but hey, I'm all for it. Let's legalize it. Let's get it. Let's just get it where it needs to be. There's a lot more positive uses for marijuana than there is for alcohol. I'm not suggesting we ban alcohol. I am a big fan of alcohol. I enjoy it quite frequently in Las Vegas. But again, there's too many positive uses for this stuff, and you can regulate it. Does alcohol get consumed illegally? Yes. But again, if you're going to make comparisons, I mean, this thing's got a lot of upside. I don't think there's really any... outside of if you're getting strep throat, you can take a shot of tequila. That'll help, and that burns like a mother because I've tried that. There's too much medicinal uses for marijuana. There's too many to not have it legal.
There's too many advances.
Let's get it in the hands of the right doctors, and let's get it used right. You know, there's a chance for some profit margin there if they can overcome some obstacles with the money, and the money could be used for something constructive. Let's hope Brown is out of office quick enough.
If I got to play the middleman here, do you think that people that in the demographic that does buy and use marijuana will even pay the 15% tax on it? What's to say that they don't go back to the same dude that they've been going to and not pay the taxes on?
Well, and that's the thing here is that it's going to be like anything else that was illegal and is not legal. They're going to have to find some way to police it.
Well, see, I think that they're gonna it's gonna be a boom at the beginning because it's legal.
Yeah.
Oh, we can all do it now. Like, hey, if you're 21 and older, so you're all gonna go after it. But I think once the dust settles, people are gonna go, dude, I'm paying like the taxes on this shit. Like,
yeah. Well, you're going in to get a dime bag, and now you're.
Yeah.
It's not a dime bag no more.
Yeah.
Now it's a $12.50 bag. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way around every loophole, or there's a loophole for everything. So I'm sure this will have one, and. Much like during the Prohibition days, the way they smuggled alcohol, I'm sure marijuana is no different. There'll be ways to smuggle it in and out. They can put every stipulation on it they want. The bottom line is that people are going to grow it, legal or illegal. People are going to use it, legal or illegal. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've driven through certain neighborhoods and just to get blasted.
I think that it also brings up other questions, though. Like when you do a drug test at work, like with alcohol, like for DUI and stuff, they use a breathalyzer or they use the blood test.
Yeah.
Generally, if you're quote unquote smart, you take the blood test if you're questionable because it takes longer.
Yeah.
You have to get to the station, they have to do it all, then they have to process it all. And by that time, usually it's out of your system. How do they prove what's been in your system for how long? How do they prove that you weren't doing that at home before you got to wherever it was you were going? There's a lot of questions I think that come with it.
And that's the whole thing, like, with my job, because like I said, it's DOT sensitive. So with my job, it was more you went when they told you to go, or it was an automatic fail.
Yeah.
And you understand that in your job. I've only met one guy within the company that had a problem with that. He was diabetic, so he wasn't able to pee on demand.
Oh, and they called
and there
that
were
a
just
fail.
sometimes, and they tried to call it a fail. We had to represent him within the union. You know, there was a big argument because it's like, okay, look, I understand the policy, we all do, but there's an obvious medical condition here. Let's just, if his name comes up, let's just send him straight to get a blood test. He doesn't have a problem with it. He wasn't trying to hide anything, but the guy just could not piss on demand.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt bad for him because it's like, this guy's diabetic, man. He's got some health issues. I'm not trying to get him to cut slack, but let's go a different road because we can't do this way.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think that I agree. I think it should be passed. I think there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of medical benefits that I feel like people are just standing up going, "That's a drug. We're not going to do that."
Yeah.
Like you're right. It is a drug in the sense that there are effects to your brain and on your body that does cause. Yes. But as I said, we allow people to get hammered regularly in public places.
Well, and not only that, but like cigarettes. I mean, we're talking about alcohol. That's like an immediate effect with the long-term liver issue. You think about cigarettes, man. Yeah. That thing, the way that systematically kills you over
emphysema, cancer,
anything from 2 or 3 years to 50 or 60. I know some smokers who are very old who don't have any problems, and I don't know how the hell that happens. Mm-hmm. But again, we have things that are far more dangerous with no benefits, alcohol and cigarettes that are legal, and marijuana's not.
Yeah.
There's too many.
I agree. I mean, I'm in the same situation because I drive to my job and around because my job's just not in one place. I'm not DOT sensitive because I'm not a driver, but I do drive my own car, and anything that happens like that is reported, even if I'm off the clock. So for me, I can't. At this point, I can't. It's just not part of the deal. But I do think that, there are times where some people just overlook the fact of the benefits.
Yeah.
And not just on a medical level, but there are people out there that it's just a calming thing. They just need to, some people in general, life has them wound up so damn tight that some people have a drink every night. Some people do, certain things. This is one of those things that could really be beneficial. Yeah. Now, financially, does it make sense? California's in so big of a fucking hole. This isn't going to dig it out.
No.
Let's be honest. It's not going to dig it out. But if they can find a way to turn some of that money into some state profit, it's definitely a step in the right direction in helping the state. And I think it's definitely step in the right direction as another state legalizes it on a more expanded platform, more than just medicinal, where it's like, hey, it's legal, and I agree. I'm sure it's going to be fought tooth and nail. I'm sure it's going to be a bitch to deal with and hear about. You're going to hear about it all kinds. But and for those of you who sit here and go, no, it's not going to work. You're going to have a bunch of stoner kids do your job as a parent to make sure that shit doesn't happen, and do your homework on the medicinal side of things before you. If you're against it, make sure you do your homework. If you still feel the same way, okay.
Yeah.
But don't just say no for the sake of that's a drug. That's a bad drug. Yeah, alcohol causes alcoholism too if you drink enough of it. But that's because you chose to continue doing that.
Yeah.
To me, people go, that's a disease. No, cancer's a disease.
Yeah.
Alcoholism is not.
No.
So
a lot of people say, well, you don't know. Well, no, we don't, but...
No, there's a thing called self-control that we do understand.
That first drink, you were not addicted when you took that first drink, and you understood that there was a possibility, and maybe you didn't, maybe you were too young, but we were all told at some point that that's not safe to do. You shouldn't do that because it could cause problems. Nobody gave you the list of problems, but you were told, everybody was told, you shouldn't do that. It's not good. Well, you chose to do it. Everything has a consequence.
Again, choices.
Yeah,
making
I always talk about that. So... All right, I'll go on my other rant next show. I've seen a lot of things the last couple of days, and it's been bothering me because it wasn't supposed to be happening, and it's happening, and it's getting worse. So, but we'll talk about that next show. A little bit more of a not so much political, but just kind of an observation of society that I've been noticing a lot lately, and it bothers me because my heart hurts for people, and when I see people who don't, I don't want to say don't have, but who are struggling, it bothers me because we're not supposed to have that here, I pay a lot of money in taxes, and there's no way that the amount of people who don't have things like medical care and are not able to get it, that shouldn't be happening. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, but we'll talk about that next show.
We'll talk about that on Monday.
Yeah. So
this has been the Saturday edition of the podcast.
Controversial.
That's going to be controversial is going to be the title for this episode. We don't have anything going on this weekend. When we podcast Monday, it's kind of funny how this worked out, talking about the country and where the history, and then talking about this in the legalization of laws and legislation. Seeing as how when we record again on Monday, it'll be 4th of July. Yeah. So good stuff. I unintentionally did that.
Yeah.
So as you know, this was episode 19.
I'm Justin,
Emmanuel.
and we've been totally unprofessional.